You know the moment when a brand tries to rebrand itself and you can just feel the meeting when someone said, we need to look modern, we need to be disruptive, we need to break the internet. Today we're talking about Jaguar's redesign and the rebrand campaign that detonated online. Because this was not just a logo change, this was a whole identity rebrand that renegotiated what the whole brand was about. And at this scale, if you change this much about a brand, you're not only changing your logo or your visual language, you are basically putting the trust of everyone who bought into your brand in jeopardy. Jaguar called this new era copy nothing and delete ordinary, but the internet had a much shorter response. What are you doing? So let's break this whole thing down. We're going to talk about what made Jaguar great to begin with, and that will give us an understanding of just how much did Jaguar lose with just a rebrand. Before the rebrand, Jaguar's identity was unusually clear for a car company, especially for a luxury car company. It wasn't just speed or just performance. What made Jaguar as a brand different is the sleek British predatory elegance. And the symbol that carried that feeling was the leaper, the jumping Jaguar, one of the most recognizable mascots in automotive history. The company was originally founded as the Swallow Sidecar Company, founded in 1922, more than a century ago, which later became SS Cars Limited in 1934. By the end of World War II, the SS initials became deeply problematic due to their association with a certain group. This has made the name commercially toxic in a post-war market. So by 1945, the company has officially changed its name to Jaguar Cars Limited, adopting the name from one of its most successful pre-war models, the SS Jaguar. So this has built a new identity for SS Cars Limited, one around speed, grace, and great British engineering. And boy, did they not make amazing cars. Enzo Ferrari, the founder of Ferrari, called the E-Type the most beautiful car ever made. And the leaping Jaguar mascot, originally designed by the artist Gordon Frederick Crosby in the 1930s, became the central symbol for this new identity. So after the rename in 1945, the Jaguar moved just from being a hood ornament to becoming the core visual identity of that company. And by the second half of the 20th century, the leaper made appearances on hoods, ornaments, and even the core language of the ads that Jaguar ran. So it became so recognizable that it competed with globally known symbols like Mercedes-Benz's three-pointed star and Rolls-Royce's Spirit of Ecstasy. So Jaguar, as you can see, it grew up with this very consistent design language, the sleek feline lines, speed, restraint, and confidence, an acquired but premium tone. So you can appreciate how harmful a shift from this very powerful design strategy could be for the name of the brand and for the identity of the brand. 19th of November 2024 is the day that everything fell apart. Jaguar unveiled a new logo and branding. It was a part of their move to becoming an electric cars only brand, with 3 new electric models planned for 2026. Now, from a strategic point of view, the timing does make sense. If your product category is about to shift, which it is, you want your core audience to know that you're not the old Jaguar anymore. But here's what made it feel less like a confident transition and more like an identity wipe. Jaguar did not frame it, or didn't even attempt to frame it, as we're going electric and this is how our elegance is going to evolve. They framed it as a total creative revolution. It's a new brand mold, it's a new philosophy, new visual system, new symbols, and their own newsroom language was very maximal. A completely reimagined brand, exuberant modernism, 4 key symbols of change. And visually, the headline elements that people latched onto included a new stylized watermark with mixed case Jaguar, with a capital J, G, and U, but not the A, and R, a new monogram badge, and a new leaper badge that for many viewers felt like it had been flattened into a pattern language rather than a living emblem. And then the campaign language itself. Delete ordinary, copy nothing. People also noticed something else. The message felt more like a fashion house identity system than an automotive one. This is not necessarily bad, but it changes the implied customer. And that was the key here, because identity design is audience design. Every choice you make says this is for you and this is not for you. So when Jaguar pivots from heritage performance luxury into an art and culture forward EV brand, they're basically asking long-term users to accept a trade. And that trade is less mechanical romance and more conceptual positioning, less car person identity and more taste culture identity. And if you are doing that as a brand, you have to accept the emotional and the financial costs. Jaguar halted sales in the UK across all of its platforms during this transition. They shut down its online configurator and sales platform, and they left the dealer network uncertain about what's happening. And that pivot away from performance luxury and more into a fashion-forward EV company meant that they're suddenly competing against Teslas and Porsche Taycans without clear product differentiation besides the polarizing aesthetic. Oh, and they're also announced that they're going upmarket with this rebrand. So that means that they're not competing against luxury brands that have been more established with clear differentiating factors in what they're selling. All while the brand's viral attention did not translate to purchase intent, partly because there was no vehicles actually available to buy. So this has created a precarious window. Sometimes rebrands do require short-term revenue sacrifice, but whether this rebrand could be just as successful or not, we need to see if the old audience still kind of engages while the new one starts to engage. And the new audience did not jump on board. And that is also why the online reactions were so sharp. Even business commentary around the company rebrand noted the criticism about messaging and the loss of familiarity in the new direction. And the year that followed, the coverage changed from bold new direction to "so is this working?" There were even stories speculating that Jaguar might need to rethink the rethink. But to be fair, sometimes you have to alienate a part of your audience to get something right on the bigger scheme of things. Because if the business model isn't working anymore because the audience has moved on or the product category has moved on, you either have to change or you decay. The problem is when the rebrand actually shows contempt towards its older self. Because even if you're moving forward, you still need continuity. Not necessarily the exact same logo, but the same emotional premise, the same story. So let's translate what's happening here in design terms. Every category has a visual vocabulary that signals what you are. In luxury cars, the codes are precision, restraint, lineage, performance, credibility. When you change this code so abruptly, you don't look new, you look unfamiliar, and there's a massive difference between these two. Second, semiotics. Logos and symbols don't just represent a company, they act like shortcuts for meaning. A mark is not a decoration, it's basically a message that you can recognize in half a second. Third, equity versus attention. Attention is what you buy in a moment, and equity is what you bank over decades. A rebrand can spike attention while quietly spending all of your equity. And finally, category conventions. You can break them, but you have to replace them with something equally legible. Sometimes audiences aren't thinking bold. They're thinking, what category are you? And that's why delete ordinary hits different when the thing that you're deleting is actually the audience that believed in you for decades. And more importantly, recognize you and have recognized you for decades. So when a company changes its identity, it's changing what people have been proudly associating with. It's changing what they trust, what they assume to be stable. So the question here isn't that, is this rebrand good? And more, did it change the system while still maintaining the relationship? And the answer is no. So what do you think? Do you think Jaguar actually needed to change? And if they did, do you think it needed to change that much? And also, I would love to hear from you if you do own a Jaguar. Do you still feel proud owning this brand? How did the brand identity change for you? And if this video earned a spot in your brain today, subscribe and I'll see you in the next one.